taken. Thanks, guys. I don't know. Welcome into Bridging Civil Tension. This is the show that is all about bridging civil tension. That's why it's called Bridging Civil Tension. All the way from the Dallas, Fort Worth area this morning, we've got Phil Wallace, author, entrepreneur, father, just mentor, all around great guy, and down there being a good dad for his son's birthday. Absolutely. And he's how old now?
He just turned 8 on Sunday.
Good gosh, 8. That's flying by. That is absolutely crazy. But absolutely just good stuff. You can follow us out on the Bridge community out on Facebook, 216 Facebook. You can go out to 216 YouTube, out on Twitch, we're at 216 the net, out on Twitter, we're at studios_216. We're everywhere you can be. You can follow us at www.216thenet. You can follow us everywhere. And just good stuff.
Apple Music as well?
Yeah. Yep. You Apple Music out there. You just go to 216 the net. You find us, man. We're getting around, which is great. Of course, this show is all about building bridges instead of blowing them up. There's a lot of tension in the world, a lot of weird, unjust and things happening, and we always just say, let's talk about it and have a good time. So, what's on your mind today, Phil?
As far as I sent you a video earlier this week. And when I sent you the video earlier this week,
first of all, thanks. It was I couldn't believe it, and it just people are stupid.
So
I'm stupid for watching it, but yeah,
I'm trying to reverse engineer like how to say this on the air. Conflict resolution. How do you talk about things? Why do you let things frustrate you so much? How do you ease into helping people bridge reactions like that? And
stupidity. You can't. There, show's done.
So I mean, we can't show that one, but.
No, I don't even want to. So tell us give us the story for all those out there listening.
Okay, in Kenosha, there was a young lady who went to a dealership.
Okay, hold it right there. Hold it right there. Let's pause that. You went through that really quick. Kenosha, Wisconsin. Again, interesting where things come from. That's all that I will say.
Right. And we were having a conversation with, where we told people just keep a pin. There's a gentleman helping my grandmother with like her physical therapy. I was like, just keep a pin on certain locations, and you'll see that they keep popping up. And so in Kenosha, Wisconsin, at a dealership, a young lady was talking to a salesman, asked the salesman, "Hey, is the price of this car negotiable?" Salesman says, "No, the price of this car is not negotiable." She says, "Okay, no problem." Goes down the street. Well, she goes down the street and she realizes, hey, I left my driver's license. So she calls the place and says, hey, did I leave my license there? The guy lies and says, no, you did not. Hangs the phone up. He then proceeds to record himself relieving himself, urinating on her driver's license. And
on the back of a truck.
Yeah, he put it on the bumper.
On the bumper of a truck. Yeah.
And recorded himself urinating on the driver's license, I guess, to get some sort of revenge. And I guess his salesman buddies were recording it. And then later on, when they're starting to get backlash because he posted it on Snapchat, there's a picture of his buddy that took a picture of him, and said this is him laughing, pissing off all the minorities.
Yeah.
So the lady who's walking them through that was like, for those of you who are saying it's not race-based or it's not, and then it's like, no, he's actually laughing at the fact that he's upset at all these minorities. What, I guess for the bad pun, what pisses off a person to the point where that's how you respond to someone asking for the price of a vehicle? What irritates you so much about it?
So let's put just a little more context into this. The context is salesperson. Let's just say sweep the leg, Johnny. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of to me would fit the profile of the 1980s rom-com bad guy.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
I could say that.
I'm gonna guess mid 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mid to late 20s. Yeah.
The lady shopping for a vehicle is a young African American in her early 20s, maybe 21.
Right.
Right. So this kind of a cool and neat time for her. Maybe this is her first vehicle to buy. Saw the vehicle, wanted to test drive, asked about it, and they wouldn't budge. So she's like, well, all right, sorry, gotta go. Right.
Right.
Then at a dealership. Now, I don't know if the guy got fired. If I owned this dealership, the kid's fired. I mean, you just terrible. Right?
Well, that was the thing the young lady who was making the video said was they preferred to either change their name on social media or take certain social media pages down. And she said all you had to do was fire this employee.
Right.
Why wouldn't you fire an employee who behaves like that? Why change the name or take your stuff off of social media versus letting this kid go who did this?
Yeah. Right. Stupidity. I get so frustrated because you can't fix stupid. Right. And it's stupid from the sales, from sweep the leg Johnny to the owner of that business. It's stupid.
It is. Okay. I think I figured it out. So a way that we can make this productive for people, right? We've had this conversation. We live in a world where there's racism, but no one is a racist. Cool.
Yeah.
When conflict skins your knee, what bleeds out? Does certain words come out? Do certain terms come out? Do certain derogatory terms come out? Do you go to the back of a pickup truck to express your frustrations? And we've talked about this. We have a lot of people that just, for a little bit of tension, a little bit of inconvenience starts to pop up. We've seen this with neighbors in neighborhoods, right? And how they respond to certain neighbors and things like that. You're wearing Hey Dude. Not yet. I need to get me a pair. I do. I looked at some gray ones. Why not? I keep hearing that they're super comfortable.
Hey dudes are this generation's. Hey, you know what? I'm too old now to wear Crocs, so I'm wearing Hey Dude. Yeah.
Is it?
You've given up on life when you're wearing Hey Dudes.
Sorry, Mark. Mark swears by him. But I think that'd be a good self-test for people, right? Just seeing what thoughts come to mind, seeing what things get murmured once you get inconvenienced. And we've seen that with how neighbors attack certain neighbors or people in certain stores. We've had Mary come in and tell her story about the gentleman who came in and attacked a worker there. Because there can't be this much racism and no one's a racist. And I think a self-evaluation during times of frustration would help people kind of just address it. Maybe not that you just, want to go out and do horrible, horrible things, but just see where there's a root of a problem there before it spills out in situations like this or worse.
So what would be interesting, I think, here's where my head goes. My head goes, man, you are a stupid business owner I would have fired that guy publicly. I would have had her come in. I would have given her the car. You know what? You wanted that car? I'm sorry you went through this. This is unacceptable. Here, it's on us. Right? Do you know how much business that would have drove in? You would have, yeah, people would be knocking on your door going, hey, that was cool. I appreciate you doing that. I'm looking for a car. You're the kind of business I want to do business with.
Right.
Instead, they go, and for any, and there may have been a car dealer with class and good human beings who said, you know what, ma'am, and maybe they have. I haven't seen that piece of it, but if you're a car dealer in the Kenosha area, guess what? I'm splashing that all over media when I give her that car or give her a car at a very, 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 very low cost. You know what I'm saying? And you missed a huge part. SG3, good morning, glad to have you with us.
Morning, brother.
And instead, this guy, and of course, hog farmers don't know that they smell like hog shit. Okay, and here's what I grew up in Iowa. You're in it. It permeates everywhere. It permeates your clothes. It permeates your hair, your skin. You are around hog shit all of the time. When you go to church, yes, you have showered. You still smell like hog doo-doo. Okay. They don't know that they don't smell. Okay. They think, right. So the idea is, again, take a look at the pin on the map. Take a look at the pin on the map. They may not even think that they smell like hog poop. Right? This business, are you kidding me? Are you ever going to, are you ever going to sell another car? You change? Come on. Unbelievable. So Nate says, I'm not a racist. I just have a twisted sense of humor with a joking personality. What's your response to that?
I think people can also just evaluate their intent, right? We talk about the day that we went to Red Barn and Woodstock, and we said things at that table that which is we were all in tears and we were joking, but we knew that it was love, right? Now, if Al bumps me and I start making like Hispanic jokes in my head or just thoughts in my head, or if you inconvenience me and I started making white man thoughts, then something's off there, right? And I love, me and you've joked for over a decade, right? So we're fine with that part. But people know where their motivation comes from, their intent with those comments, their intent with that jokes. And if it comes from a malicious place, then evaluate that. And I think that one thing I've appreciated with you through our walk is when you talk about on the show, hey, I didn't like this when I first heard it, and then I went home and I evaluated it, and now I'm seeing things this way. Or I thought this when I first saw it, but now I'm seeing it this way. All we're asking for people to do is like, hey, when this stuff happens, what's your first thought? And if it is something derogatory, if it is something hateful, evaluate that.
So Sal says there's much more underlying racism, but it's still racism, and that's probably to jokes. And again, I can say, fuck them if they can't take a joke, right? It's a joke, right? But again, it's to that intent. Now, you also have to go back, Nate, and you have to say, I'm not a racist. I just have a twisted sense of humor. Okay, well, that's racist right there. Okay. when you feel the need to explain, then I'm going to say it's probably racist. Now, again, we'll stick with bumper sticker theology and bumper sticker leadership, and you don't know what somebody else is walking through. So your twisted sense of humor, heard by somebody who doesn't understand your twisted sense of humor, ain't going to think that that's humor at all. Right?
At whose expense? Right. So if every time I have a twisted sense of humor, it's at the expense of white people, or if every time I have a twisted sense of humor, it's at the expense of Hispanics, there's a pattern there. It's not like I always talk about him, but I appreciate Chappelle because it's always at everybody. It's not just one group in particular. But if it's only towards one group specifically, or just minorities, or just women, or just LGBT, like, then is it just a sick sense of humor, or do you just have a problem with that group?
Right. And again, Nate, you're safe in your inner circle, right? And that's what we're finding in Kenosha. Okay. So you're safe in your inner circle. As soon as that splash goes outside of your inner circle, and I know Nate, and his inner circle is very ethnic, right? I mean, he grew up, not necessarily in the best part of Waukegan, and he's got friends from every ethnicity, right? So I because I know him personally, I get that, and you're safe inside that circle. As soon as it splashes outside of the people who don't really understand you and know you, then yes, I can sit here on a Sunday night with the Rejects, who do a great show Sundays at 9, and I can joke with them. As soon as I'm not with the Rejects, I don't think I could say the same jokes, right? Or if I tell the story, like, oh man, yeah, I sit with these four guys. Let's just say, everything is this way. Oh, and it's Sal. Sal, how are you, brother? Oh, Sal Villalobos. See, I thought it was Sal. So there he is. So Sal, good to have you, Sal. Nice, right? So Sal, he's another Texas guy. He's down there in Dallas area. So that is the whole thing. I can absolutely say things, but then I go and I'm at Jexel's getting some wings with my family, and I'm like, oh man, I was with these four Mexicans, and this is right, and they're like, oh shit, and everything in the bar goes quiet.
Right.
Whoops, I can't do that. Right.
I wonder. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wonder if that, like, the sense of humor, I think we've talked about this before, is like, would you say the same jokes if you were outnumbered? Because there's certain people who are like, I could say I have a sense of humor and would say it at, like, for instance, if you would say certain things at a chamber event, but wouldn't say that at Zoe's party, the one that you went to, when the numbers are different, then is it really, like, again, check your intent.
Right.
Because like we say certain things that we say it regardless, whoever we are, because we understand that it's love, and like people understand they feel that. But if you're just saying that because you know that numbers wise are on your side, I'd evaluate that.
I would yeah, you know me. I'd say the same joke. That's just because I'm stupid. I might end up getting killed for it, but I mean, I delivered that one.
You can't say that here.
Nate just says this. He says, I feel the need to defend myself because so far I've seen a lot of people saying, quote unquote, he's privileged because he's white. He's had it easier. I'm just worried about my boy growing up. He's not going to have the same upbringing I had, so I hope he doesn't look at people based on color or ethnicity. But Sal says, but if the jokes are in earshot of others, it may be unintentionally, and it may unintentionally reinforce their racist views. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jess, how are you? Happy Friday. My dad would say it's only a joke if there's a punchline. Most people say their truth with a laugh and then say, hey, just joking, to negate the criticism. Sorry, don't know the context. Happy to be here, though. And Nate says, I have no filter, to be honest. I'd say it. Yeah, no, I know that's true. Yeah, go look at some of his Google reviews, Big Fish. There you go. Right. So it is. The joke in my family now is when I try to make, and it's not a joke, I guess, but it is a joke, I guess. I don't know how to say it, right? Maybe this is to Jessica's point. Is Lucy, my 13-year-old, or Colette, would be like, yeah, that's got to be racist, right? so I, I will say things, right? I will absolutely say things because that's who I am, and my girls will be like, "Oh boy, that's got to be racist, Dad." I go, "Is it? Does it though? Come on, right?" Um, and truthfully, with there's the only way to to raise a child is raise a child in love, right?
Right.
And understand that, and you can go to any playground in the world and you'll see every kid getting along with one another until mom or dad runs over and goes, "Ooh, don't play with that one. No, no, no." Right?
Right.
Um, racism, I don't think is an inheritable trait. I think it's a learned trait, right? And it is now again, you are a product of your environment, and I agree. Sale says raise a child by example. But if I live in one of those cities that is pinned, where the hate and the racism continue to flow out of from any direction, right? I'm from any direction, whether it's whether it's blacks hating whites, whether it's white hating blacks, whether it's whites running around in bed sheets, whether it's boy, there seems to be people walking around with AR-15s and hey, right? Whatever the case may be, is again, you're going to get some of that hog smell on you, and you're not going to know it. You're going to become a product of your environment. You can lead by example. You can love everybody, but that child's going to be a product of their environment. Simple as that, right? So basically, watch my boy when he's around the older generation that I know I had a different upbringing. Sometimes grandparents, yeah. Hey, back in my day, we didn't have to wear a white sheet. We just hung them up, right?
In the middle of the square.
Yeah, right. Just so I think, yeah, I think that a lot of the world, unfortunately, a lot of the stupidity, a lot of the hate, Phil, a lot of people are being this way, and pushing this way, to get a like, to get a thumbs up, to get a hey, look at all the people who saw that post, at the expense of everybody else.
Like I was trying to think, like, did he think it was going to be funny? Did he think that people would laugh that he was doing this as a professional? Right? Taking someone's license and going to the back of a pickup truck and urinating? Like, is that for likes? Is that just not being able to handle yourself as an adult?
That's not, I mean, yeah, that's not being able to handle yourself. First of all, I mean, I don't understand. I don't. First of all, how does it hurt that girl? It doesn't. The guy's an idiot.
You just fired yourself. But then when you're talking earlier, you said that the dealership should have fired him and gave the girl the car, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we really see that principle being applied though in situations like this, where hey, we are going to make sure this is taken care of and this is going to be fixed or addressed in a way that shows that we are sympathetic or like whatever the case may be. Typically, it's unpaid leave or paid leave, and then the vague apology. So we don't really see the fire the employee, rectify the situation. We see what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Protect the employee. Well, I mean, they'll be all right.
Yep. We'll make a public announcement and say we're sorry. We gave the guy sensitivity training.
He's going to do the apology and say that he didn't know that his actions would be so offensive.
Yeah. as he laughed at him. Nate says, I think Kent and Phil have to babysit and help me out with his upbringing education. I don't trust schools to teach him things he's going to need to know. Well, I'll tell you this, and I've said it before, and anybody who knows me knows me. Don't bring me a kid until they can walk and feed themselves. I hate babies. I didn't even like my own. I just lay there and ugh. I gotta be able to joke with a kid and have a conversation. I can't just sit there. Right? Hey, look who just walked in.
You don't have that gear kit? You don't have that
Yeah.
gear? Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good morning. How are you, bud?
I don't. If people are like, you want to hold the baby? Nope. Don't want anything to do with that baby.
I'd rather.
It happens all the time. Hey, ask Nate. Ask Chris. His kids are at my house all the time. Until they're walking around and I can talk to them, I ain't got nothing to do with them.
Honey, can you take care of that?
No. Hey, Dad, could you? No. Set him on the couch. Hope the dog doesn't jump on him. I ain't touching him. I don't do that. I don't know. I don't like kids. I don't like babies.
I like to look at them, but they're a little hard to deal with. Hey,
good morning, Jan. How are you? So here's a question on this too, Phil.
Okay.
Is this a new movement in the world of remote learning, remote work, hybrid, as they call it? Is this making the divide larger? Is it segregating more?
Hybrid work environments?
Yeah. It's a good question, right?
I'm trying to see how would it add to the divide?
Well, if I like right now, I could mute my microphone and sit here and go, oh God, yes, Phil, Jesus, this guy, all he does, right? Where if we're together in a meeting, I can't go, oh, geez, Phil, this guy, right? You're going to be able to read my body language better. There's more opportunities for us to interact outside of, quote unquote, perhaps this meeting. I could get to know you a little better at the water bubbler. I could get to know, hey, you want to go grab lunch? You know what I mean? So there's less chances of multiracial interaction. So this show, right? So this show being one of them, to your point, I think things through differently now. And I try to understand from the other side where I'd have been like, come on, what? You never got pulled out of your car in the middle of Crystal Lake. I didn't see it on the news. That shit didn't happen, Phil. You're just, you're grandstanding now, right? But now that we've been able to do this, you understand what I'm saying? So as this remote learning, does it widen the divide because it lessens our chance to interact with one another and truly get to understand each other?
I think for a person who's open-minded and has an open heart towards a situation, I don't think that it would. And here, well, you want to recover this one first, or do you want to address this comment?
Yeah, let's do this. So Sal says when my kids, they were little, would refer to their friends when asked who they were talking about. If they were referring to one of the African American friends, they would not refer by color, but other characteristics.
Nice. Good upbringing.
Well,
the funny one, the tall one.
Well, yeah. So it's ask anybody. Ask anybody who's telling you a story. Oh, I'll tell you what. I was watching. I was watching American Idol, and there was this singer Ashley Carpenter, and she's the cutest little black girl you ever saw.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Why did I have to throw color in there? That's racist. She's the cutest little girl you ever saw.
So by saying that, that's racist. I mean, because I get that, because and obviously, Phil, you've heard me, my chats, right? I've Scott things, right? But that's a product of my environment, right? Of how I was grown up, or how I was raised, or at least people I hung around when I was raised. I didn't realize it was wrong until it was explained to me in a different situation. Just like when I had made that comment to you a couple weeks back, I'll never say it again. I never even realized the depth and the negativity that really put off, right? But when you're describe to somebody the situation and the person, I find myself always at some point going, African American or a Chinese, or just describing that person, which it really shouldn't matter unless you were trying to make some type of shitty joke or pun about it, right?
So does this? So in this one, we would be in there, and somebody would be like, "Well, Phil, which one was Phil?" Well, he was the black one on screen.
Oh,
nicest black guy you'll ever want to meet.
Right. Yeah. So what do you say? It wasn't me. It was the guy sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good look. It was a good looking African American guy next to me. Well,
Phil was the guy with the maroon shirt.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. He's the maroon shirt guy with the nice looking tight trim beard. You know.
So is this remote learning, remote everything, creating a wider divide that's going to be harder to gap in the future?
I think it depends on the environment, honestly. Right. And the reason why I say that, like you're saying, if they're still in the pigsty, it's not going to really make a difference whether or not I'm there or I'm remote. That thinking's going to stay there. I've had situations where coworkers who were open-minded, and the environment was open, and there were that bridge that was made. And I've worked in environments where certain employees can say whatever they want to other type of employees, and management wasn't going to say anything. So again, if we're at the police station and you're the sarge and you're in on it too, are you going to rectify the situation? No. If the VP is in on the same thing, it doesn't really matter if I'm there. If you're allowed to make a certain comment and Scott's your buddy, when it comes down that we have that sit down with HR, Scott's still going to cover for you, in person or remote.
Hey, Sal, yo lo siento. I apologize about that. Jeez. Sal says, hey, here's what he hears. Sal, you are much more eloquent than most other Hispanic, or you're not like all the other Mexicans.
What's wrong with that statement?
Keep in mind, Sal is down in Dallas, right? It's just the Latin American, the Mexican population is a little bit probably larger down there than perhaps up here in white suburbia.
That'd probably be a good assumption, I would say.
Right?
Yeah.
And those are still things that he hears. What? Or this one, right, Sal? Hey, food day. Sal, you bringing the enchiladas? Phil, you got the chicken, right? We good?
What are we bringing? Steak?
No. My goodness, we got pizza.
Oh, pizza.
There's
We're white.
There's a charcuterie board. There's assorted cheeses.
Yeah,
charcuterie board.
Right. So that's that. My biggest concern, I think, is still the interactions. Okay, so possum. Yeah, little possums too. So Lucy is my 13-year-old. She's in 8th grade. And anybody who knows Lucy knows that she's got a good heart. She loves people.
Right.
Lucy prefers to spend a lot of her time with what I would call the marginalized, right? So the not rich, the not in crowd, right? The not popular kids, right? She could be. I mean, she's a dynamic personality. She's a dynamic basketball player. So she's beautiful. She's got every right to be in the quote unquote in crowd, right? But we have raised her to love people, right?
For just people.
To look at a person as a person. She's got trans friends. She's got friends who are trying to figure out who they are, as most teenage kids are, and she sits with she has friends and is close to people who have learning disabilities, and so she's just a beautiful kid, right?
She's just accepting of all.
Yeah, and she comes home sometimes because sweep the leg Johnny. Now these are 8th grade, and again, let's be honest, we're in the white suburbia area. have are displaying these divides, that are displaying hate, are displaying racism, are right. And where do they learn that from?
Their environment,
home.
who they hang around.
Home.
It's got to be at home,
right?
Right.
Okay, you would think that it starts at home.
So look, it starts at home, and that's where Lucy is hearing Sweep the Leg Johnny is making comments about her friends, right? All right,
Yep.
Starts at home. So the parents of these kids work with who? Me.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the environment with them, I'm hearing worse. I'm hearing the matured, caramelized version of these 8th grade thoughts as a coworker. Do I want to spend every single day with that mentality outnumbered? Where if there's 100-4 ratio at that office, there's a 96 to 4 ratio at that office, and you could say whatever you want to that's completely off base, non-professional, racist. But again, if Scott's your buddy and we sit in that office, I have to endure it, or I'm overreacting, Phil. It was a joke. Take a joke. No, it wasn't. Is it bridging things in that environment? I don't believe that it is.
But right. I agree. I agree 100%. However, we've also almost twisted the dial to where I can't speak about a different culture without somebody saying, God, that's racist.
I was going to say somebody's going to step in. And
so here's the story. The story is this. My 20-year-old is dating Quentin, a 6'5" baller, right? Great kid, doing well in school. You can tell this young man was raised properly. He treats her well. He always shows respect when he comes to the house to her mom and I. Just a great kid. And it's been hard on him because he's from the Champagne, so he's Muhammad down there, right? So a little further south, down by Champagne area, and so he's been up here because he's playing basketball, and so there's a little bit of homesickness, right? He got home during the Christmas vacation a little bit, but they were practicing a lot, so this is the first time he's away from his parents. And he wants to take her home for spring break, right? And I was like, cool. And I go, now, just so you know, you have to be ready to have some barbecue, some grits, probably some collard greens. I said, trust me, you're going to have to try it. You can't be rude. You can't be the little white girl, right? Dad, I am sure that's racist. So we're at the dinner table the other night, and Q's over, and he goes, yeah, I can't wait for spring break, get to go back home. I said, cool. I said, your mom's going to celebrate when you get there because she hasn't seen you for so long. So what are you looking?
She's going to make his favorite meal.
Right? What meal are you looking at? What's your go-to meal? He's like, man, ribs, greens, right? and he rolled it right off. And I looked at my daughters and I go, oh, I thought that was racist. I understand.
Coming from him, it's
right?
not, but some people can construe it from you as racist because that's how you're describing a culture's appetite.
It's not. It's just I understand.
It's a matter of fact.
I understand that family. Now, people are like, damn. Now, if you don't know, Q's father is African American. His mother is white, right? And I have not met these people. I'm guessing that they're wonderful people because he's a brilliant young man. He's just a great young man, right? And he's very open. He's articulate. He wants to. He makes my daughter happy. That's all.
That's all that matters,
right? And that's cool to me. So, but again, when you start having conversations, this is kind of where that divide comes from. I have spent a lot of my life playing basketball intertwined with African Americans, right? I just have. I know more about the African American populace than I do the Latin American or the Mexican populace, right?
Well, that's right.
Now,
spent a lot of time.
I have, and I don't tend to know it all, but there are things also that I've realized over the last couple of years through this show that goes, holy shit, I was bad, right? Like I thought I was,
Right.
whoops.
That's what's great about this show.
But now we've come to a point where everybody's on such eggshells as, oh my gosh, Dad, you can't. And I'm like, that's this. Trust me, you're gonna don't go down there and be the little white girl who says, I'll take chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, right? Kraft macaroni and cheese, not even the baked stuff. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that remote learning, the remote work, is now wedging it even further away for us to be able to come together and go, oh my gosh, right? So I'm like this. I'm talking to Q, and I'm like, right, because over at Zoe and Caroline's, I was like, ooh, you're gonna make those greens with bacon? He goes, no, my mom doesn't use bacon. She uses pork shoulder.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, right. And I love Southern cuisine. I mean, you take me down to Louisiana, I'll go crazy, right? And so I understand it. I mean, it'll kill you. I mean, it's so rich and
right.
Woo, it'll kill you.
But the nice thing about the comments that you're making though is how you were raised and the culture that you were brought up in kind of programmed you to think that way, right? You're not doing it to be disrespectful, but when you add in, that cute little black girl, it's because that's how everyone described it. I never thought about it, right? Using descriptions like that until you guys brought it up to me. And obviously, Phil, I mean, I'm ignorant in a lot of respects, and I don't mean to be. It's because I haven't really been given that exposure.
But you and I don't tell a story and be like, oh, she was the cutest little white girl you ever saw.
Generally not,
right?
No.
It was just like,
she was the most well-spoken white girl I've ever met. I've never heard that.
I've never described a woman like that. It's usually other attributes.
She was just so proper. Little Emily Elizabeth spoke so well. I've never heard that. But her name's
I usually use different attributes to describe.
Never heard that.
So
there you go.
Okay, so to answer your question about the eggshells and sensitivity, I was having a conversation with a relative, and they went to a HBCU, and it was that she wasn't saying it rude, but she goes, white people don't like being told they can't. And she goes, when it comes to dialogue, what's happened is there's been a long time where white people can say whatever they want to minorities or African Americans, and it was just cool to call a 67-year-old man boy because you're in Mississippi and that's what everyone does. And it's cool to make these jokes and it's cool to say these things. But there hasn't been that phase where it's like, hey, I realize I can't say these things. I shouldn't say these things. Hey, I've said enough for long enough. Let me leave bad enough alone. It went from I can say whatever I want to a person saying, don't say it again. Now it's eggshells and I just can't say anything. No, because it's been every single time. Like it's been for such a long time where you haven't had to filter, haven't had to talk respectfully. That a person saying, look, we're at a breaking point. Don't say anything like that again to me. Well, it's eggshells and everyone's offended. Like would you prefer the riots? Would you prefer them to hit you? Or would you prefer a person to say,
those were peaceful demonstrations?
Right. Would you prefer a person to say, you can't say that because will look past it, but if you say that over here, they might hit you. So I'm just trying to help you. Oh, I just can't say anything. No, just don't say the stuff that gets you punched in the mouth.
Well, I think one of the things for me is a lot of people in this world are afraid to actually just say and speak up for themselves. And I speak up for myself. And when I'm wrong, I want people to tell me I'm wrong and understand why I'm wrong, because I might be looking at something from a different perspective, or that's, the way I was raised or the people I was raised around. I don't want to disrespect anybody at any point. I mean, if I want to disrespect you, I'm going to do that, right? But a lot of times some comments will come out that are not meant to come out the way they are, but they do. And so I apologize. And I want people to tell me what's acceptable, not acceptable. And then it's up to me to understand why and to change my ways if, per se, it's right. I mean, describing somebody based on their ethnicity, only if, it's, for me, there's very few and far between that you actually need to put in a person's color or ethnicity, unless you're trying to make a joke, you know what I mean? Like if you're making a, just a specific ethnic joke, right? Then it has to come into play. But we've been kind of programmed, I guess, that this is the way you describe things. And it is offensive to people. And I didn't know this personally for a lot of years. The things that I was saying might have been valid, but in the way I described them was offensive. And if you don't tell me, I don't know, I can't change. Right. So to me, that's acceptable, and so then I'm part of the problem in some respects until I start learning and listening and being open to things. Right. And a lot of people aren't open to other people's critiques and to listen to, their thought process. They just shut down. No, screw you. I don't need to hear that. You're wrong.
Life is
that's the problem though, because if you come from an upbringing of, this is just how we talk, and we're allowed to say these things that are, racist or whatever. Okay, cool. I come from a background of someone says something offensive, punch them in the mouth. What happens when we collide? Conflict, right? But there hasn't been a part where it's like, hey, then I can't say that. Because if you do your background and I do my background, I'm the bad guy once we meet. Because Phil, you should have just taken a joke. People are tired of taking that joke. So where's the part of, without like, oh, I can't just say whatever I want to that's rude to minorities. Where's the accountability? Where's the part? Okay, well, I need to go through that adjustment part. I'm willing to go through the frustrations of, if I should have to be able to sit through the frustrations of your learning curve, you should be just fine figuring out the learning.
Yeah.
Because I have, like, what the flip side of what you're saying is, I have to sit here and allow you to say everything that you think of and fumble until you figure out not to say things offensive to Black people, not just you, Scott, but like people. I have to be cool with that and hold my tongue and not fight or not cuss a person out while they say offensive things to minorities. Like, bro, you should have this down by now. And you're telling me that you're frustrated because there's a learning curve? What about the flip side?
So for me, for
me,
me,
Karen, good morning. Glad to have you with us.
I'm embarrassed, and I'm not going to obviously bring it up, but I'm embarrassed at the comment that I had made to you, the couple comments that I had made to you, not realizing in jest, if you remember the two I'm talking about, just being here. I didn't realize until you brought it up to me. I'm like, holy shit. I did not realize that had that type of connotation to it.
Thanks for bringing that up again, Scott.
I didn't
wipe that out of my memory.
I'm going to Scottize it, right? But I didn't. Because of where I grew up and the people I grew up around, and I mean, I worked in the city for many years downtown, so I've dealt with every ethnicity out there. And to me, back when I was dealing, those comments were accepted. Maybe they weren't acceptable, but they were accepted, and I was never called out on it, right? And Karen, so that was bad for me. You called me out on it, and that made a huge difference for me.
Yeah. And Karen, glad to have you with us. You all remember Karen. She was on a few weeks ago and going to be one of the co-hosts of a brand new show coming up this month. We're excited for. Absolutely love her. And I think you've rearranged the name of the show. She'll put it in the comments for us because I don't want to say it wrong, because I want people to tune in, follow, and I think you already have a Facebook page out there too. So give us that as well, Karen. But Karen says people should be open to having difficult conversations as well as respecting the opinions or perspectives of others when they feel offended. Right. You may not agree, but consider what you're being told. Well, so here's the hard part with that. My dad never got put into a police car because he was on his way home from school, taken to the precinct and beaten just to say, don't step out of line. So when I start having conversations with offspring and or family whose history is that, and I go, no, that, come on, Karen,
Bullshit,
you're making that up. Does that happen to you? No, this happened. Oh, yeah. Okay, times were different, right? So all of a sudden, we start pushing back on experience, pushing back on history, because again, we go back to history and go, well, no, look, she sat in the front of the bus. She's one of the Fab Five. We're good, right? Individually unified, it's going to be called. Absolutely, check it out. Facebook, follow, like, share as well. So I you know, that's where a lot of society doesn't understand. Well, you're obviously running because you're guilty. Nope, I'm running because I was on the way home as a boy from school with my books in my hand,
full of energy, ready to go home.
Excited for life. And I got thrown in the back of a squad car and beaten and held there for hours, so that this would tell your friends, this is what will happen if you step out of line. Right. And I go home beaten and bloody. And then my mom goes, well, let's go. You can't go down there because they're the ones who just did it.
She just generalized everything, right?
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I don't understand that. So I can never see it through that lens, because I'll say that's a bunch of crap. You're making that stuff up.
And until you've experienced it firsthand, it's hard to really understand.
Let me look at my 6th grade history book. No, George Washington Carver did create peanut butter. Right?
The Fab Five.
Well, I think it was Karen that made the comment up there. Back up a little bit, Kent. She just said people should be open to having difficult conversations as well as respecting people's opinions and perspectives of others when they feel offended. Most people don't want to do that because they feel that it's going to turn into something bigger than it is. And it's just like, I'll just let it slide. And seek first to understand, right? Yeah, always. I mean, there's definitely conversations that I would want to avoid because they're uncomfortable. But the thing is, and as you know me, I'm a big proponent of bringing up the uncomfortable conversation, because that's really what matters. Everything that's comfortable is accepted, really, in a way, right? I mean, you've got to learn. You've got to expand your horizons. You've got to understand you're not the only person. There's more opinions and there's more realities.
Right.
To things.
But to again, we go back to what Phil said at the beginning of this episode is intent and context, and where are we at, right?
Yeah, I wasn't here for that, so I apologize.
And Nate earlier had made a comment like, I grew up wanting to be a comedian until I saw the backlash on comedians. That's when I decided not to be a comedian. Probably just because you're not funny, Nate.
Or that could have been the fear in him not wanting to push the boundaries.
No, it's good. He's a funny guy.
Phil just lost.
We had a little glitch in the matrix there, or we pissed him off enough that he's like, screw you, right?
Yeah, Scott's in the house now.
Yeah, I love having the conversations, but I've noticed everyone else is scared to talk about it.
Absolutely. Not everybody, but a good portion.
The people who want to have the conversations, I think, will talk. Right. But here's the issue, and it's the same thing with Christianity. It's the same thing with anything. Instead of having conversations, I'm always trying to push my agenda on you. Right. Yeah. Okay. We didn't piss him off. All right. He's back. He probably started saying stuff about white people. And whatever. The Facebook probably censored it. And dropped him.
Right. Karen, first and foremost, thank you for sending the book. My mom loves it. She hasn't put it down since I've been here. So just want to say, first of all, thank you for that, Karen.
Yeah.
But she said something at the end of that her post. She said, consider what's being said to you, even if you don't agree with it. Right. So if someone's telling you, hey, this has happened with the squad car, this is what it was like from my side, why aren't people even willing to consider? Like, hey, this may not have happened to me, but all right, consider what's being said to you. Consider when, Scott, I had the difficult conversation, right? Hey, that's offensive. Cool. And we were able to talk through it. But if you're not willing to consider that, hey, Phil's not being a jerk. He's just like doesn't want me to saying that to anyone else who's not going to talk with me through this. If it just goes to, well, this Phil guy had an attitude because I made a joke and now I got to walk on the studio, then you're not really considering what's being said to you, right? You're just being dismissive of that information. So I think that last part of what she's saying is at least being willing to.
Yeah, you have to be willing to consider it. Again, though, a lot of our programming growing up, guys our age, Scott, right, is we were programmed that if you're black, you're poor, because we watched Sanford and Son, and we watched and
that was a great show.
And we watched the one with Jimmy Walker.
That's Good Times. Good Times. Oh, I thought you were going with the Jeffersons.
And we love them because y'all are funny, but broke, right? So our programming is always kind of
that was the general gist of the shows back then, right? I mean,
and
it was hard not to have that opinion or that look.
And we grew up. I mean, you go back and you watch the sitcoms and the Jeffersons, right? Now we start putting again. Somebody said, you know what? Not all black people are poor. So we made one family, rich, right? And he very successful, but again, funny. And so as we take a look at things, our programming, to your point, is I'm saying things and seeing things of the way that I was programmed. My I can hear my grandfather, who I was close with, having conversations about the colored, right? And so these are things and beliefs and ways, we are programmed. And it's through good conversations. It's through trying to understand and meet you where you're at to go, oh, I didn't know. Now, again, I'm going to push back here. So we go through and we learn about Dr. King Jr. and we take what is it, Selma, right? And the water, how we just sprayed people walking on a bridge, right? And we look at that and go, huh, well, that was wrong. But we never jump on the side of the people who are being sprayed, who are being beaten, who are being thrown in jail for no reasons, and go, what did they go through? Right?
Something you'll never know until you ask them.
I will almost guarantee this, and if you're out there listening, I will almost guarantee this, that if you are a pink-skinned person, you looked at that piece of history from the man behind the hose. From that angle.
Probably a majority of people did.
And
right?
you didn't go, oh my gosh, that person. Right.
Well, and it was also how it was portrayed in the news, right?
Yeah. So
they one-sided it.
Karen says, Kent, key word that you keep using is programming. That would be a great discussion for one of your shows. How do we change the programming?
Listen to the grounds every Friday morning.
Join us here on the bridge. I mean, that's one way. It helps. And that's the whole thing, I think, is realizing, if there's to be change in the world, you have to be the change that you want to see. Yep. I mean, Michael Jackson, you start with The Man in the Mirror, one of the best songs ever, right? If you really take a look at it. And until you can literally look at the mirror and say, okay, I need to change. I need to make that change. The programming will never change. And that's just, that's my own opinion, right? But at the same time, through the conversations that Phil and I have had on this show, I go, oh, damn. Oh, shit. There have been a lot of oh, shit moments.
Your eyes were opened up and you talked about it and you learned from it, right? Well, I mean, and that's what it's all about. We learn every day.
Changes by Tupac, too. I love that one. Yeah.
And we learn every day because things change.
Deprogram through exposure. So,
gentlemen, I have to take this.
All right.
Phil, always good to see you.
All right. Well, tell your parole officer, Scott, hello. That's great. Yeah. So I think there's good stuff. So you're saying we learn and we teach. I think that's the way it has to be, and you can't be afraid of different, right? And you have to embrace the different and embrace the suck and embrace everything, to have Johnny sweep the leg stop peeing on driver's license because they didn't get a sale. You know,
he probably would have had he acted differently. But
oh yeah. So, all right, listen, we're on the back end of this. We got to get to where we got to get. Another great episode, Phil. Thanks so much. Enjoy your time down in Dallas. Enjoy your time with that young man. He's becoming now, he ain't a baby anymore.
right.
And just cherish that time. And until we meet again, my friend,
All right, friend.
be good.
Always a
All
pleasure.
right. And hey, you know what? Big day. Come back in about a half hour for Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. Good stuff going on in the Neighborhood Pulse today. In the Know with Steph and Joe. We've got Dream Home Experts. You just come back. We got so much going on. Like us, follow us, share us out there, and stay in tune with us as our good friend Karen Abbott Trimmel and her buddy Jamie Maravich are putting together a show, Individually Unified. Like them, follow them on Facebook, and they're going to be on the first and third Tuesdays of the month at high noon. So going to love having those guys. So until then, be good, but more importantly, folks, as I always say, be good to one another.
You guys.